Hey guys, Ryan from NITTA Fishing Innovations. Today we're going to talk about a few bridling systems, more specifically the Live Zips, its exponential benefits for the beginner through expert level fishermen. The three common ones are the nose through the eye socket would be the second. The third would be somewhere in the dorsal fin area. So those would be your three most common bridling areas. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about bridling to the nose. Typically what you do is you're using the hook as the bridle itself, and what you're doing is you'll hook right through the nose section. So it is a relatively fast system. The bait lives long. You can use it for dragging or drifting, and for the most part the gap of the hook is exposed. There are some cons to using a nose rig. Sometimes when you're using smaller baits for big fish, eyes over 100 pounds or marlins, you typically use like a thicker gauge hook, something similar to this in terms of the gauge. And because the gauge is so big, with the limited room, it might not be as a secure hold when you do use a nose rig. For example, sometimes because the hook is so far forward, you'll get some missed strikes when the fish grab the head section. It's also easier to break or rip. Times when the fish gets eaten or swimming, sometimes the hook will spin back on itself and embed itself in the head, causing for a missed strike. The next system is a common system where you're actually bridling through the eye socket itself. It's a versatile position for different types of fishing, meaning easy to use it if you're dragging a bait or if you're drifting. The bait tends to live very long. The whole gap of the hook is exposed, and it's a really solid position because you have all of the skull here, you have the bridle wrapped around, and it's a really good position in terms of a hook set. If they have a tendency to grab towards the head, front of the dorsal, the hook is near where the fish is biting. So the drawback for when you're bridling in the eye socket is that you do need a bridling system, whether it be the zip, which we'll talk about, wax string, Dacron, bridling bands. That would be the one drawback, is you need to use something to put your hook in that position. The third position I wanted to talk about would be bridling it somewhere near the dorsal fin. It can be fast again if you hook the hook directly into the fish. It's a good position like if you're going to kite fish, if you're fishing from shore and you're using a slide bait system. You can also use this like anchoring or drifting from a boat. This is again another good position for hook sets because it's near that general area where the fish bite. On fish that the skin is tough, there's a solid connection there. Some of the drawbacks in this position, if you do just hook using your hook as the bridle, it can choke the hook. The other thing is, if you don't use that, then you are going to need a bridling system. It's not the best for dragging bait because if you hook it here, the tendency is for the fish to swim downwards, which isn't conducive to dragging the bait. If you do bridle it, again, same thing like the bridle at the eye socket, it can turn itself and it can bury the tip back into the bait if using some bridling systems. So if you decide to not use a bridling system, we've got wax string or Dacron attached to the needle. We've got a band again attached to the needle, and then we have the Live Zip. So the first one we'll talk about is the Dacron, wax string, whatever type of material that you would use. One of the first drawbacks is having the needle. When you're live baiting, a lot of times this needle gets misplaced, can't find them. So you need the loop, you need the needle. The other thing is you will need various size loops depending on the type of bait. So you can't just stick to one size, because if you have a really big loop with a small fish with a smaller head, it'll just be too much twist to be able to put in there. The other thing is when you're bridling, sometimes like when you're in an area like similar to like if you're in a kayak and you're bridling the line, you can twist back, but what happens is this line here, it twists a lot while you're trying to bridle the fish. Especially like again mentioned, if you don't have the necessary workspace. If you do bridle, and if sometimes you don't bridle it tight enough, or sometimes it slowly gets a little loose while dragging the bait, what happens is there's times when the fish swims in different directions or on a strike, this hook here can hook back into itself. Sometimes what happens too is when the fish grabs it, the bait and the hook actually prevents the fish from securing the hook set. And then the other thing is, for example, like when you're bridling with a trailer system, when you're bridling the front hook, this trailer hook has to spin in conjunction with the front hook, and that sometimes it's really hard to twist with a trailer or a stinger hook. The other bridling system is using a bridling band. Again, you would need a needle. It can be unreliable in breaking strength, and sometimes when you're rehooking the band, depending on the barb, it can actually cut or slice into the band. Finding various sizes at times can be tough. One thing too that I've noticed is when you do bridle, because it stretches, trying to rehook this side sometimes becomes difficult. Like if you're in the middle and you miss, a lot of times it'll pull through really easy because it's elastic, and it'll pull through, and you got to start over again. Similar to the wax string, bridling with a stinger hook attached and spinning the hook, although there's not as many spins with a rubber band, it still is cumbersome. So the last system is the NITTA Live Zip. It comes attached with its own needle, so it's just one piece. The needle, you're going to use it for the eye socket, and you can also thread it through thinner skin fish that's the skin is thicker. You can just start like a starter hole with your hook, then use the needle to go through that starter hole. But as a bridling system, common would be the eye socket, thread it through the eye, then this one piece system. It'll come through the zip, zip it down. From there, you just attach your hook. And all you do is zip that down there and just make your cut. This system here, see, it's relatively quick. You don't have to worry about the needle is attached. You don't have to worry about different size loops, because I mean this is your loop and it cinches down to the smallest size that you need. The nice part is that, as you see here, it keeps the hook in a fixed position. So when we're talking about using wax, a string, sometimes it can come loose, rehooking itself into the fish. So this becomes a fixed hook position. When we're talking about, the way I talk about like hook sets, this can maximize hook sets. Also exposes the gap, so the gap is fully exposed, meaning you can downsize in hooks. You can even upgrade in hooks if you want to. So like if you wanted to use something bigger, right? This is of course too big for an Opelu, but it shows you that if you preferred the nose rig before, this is a hook that couldn't go to the nose rig, but it definitely can go through the NITTA Live Zip system. Now the other part too, you don't need to twist it all. All you do is you're hooking the actual zip system itself. So no twisting involved, no kinking of the line. I will also show you about the ease of using a stinger hook in combination with the zip. The added benefit of people that like to use a stinger trailer hook. Now, once you've bridled the fish, one technique, if you want to, is dropping the trailer hook into the loop. Then what I like to do is hook the bridle, so I know where the position I want the hook in. So that what happens here is I look at where I want the hook in relation to where the hook will sit, and then now I have slack to play to, depending on how you want to rehook the bait into the trailer. Many different ways to hook the bait, but this gives you a variance of forward or back. And once you set the position of your hook, all you gotta do is zip this down. And the reason why I like to thread it through is that if I zip this down here, it keeps the cable down, and you should have that hook in that position that you wanted without having a big slack of cable, sitting anywhere. Now, if you're using a stinger hook or a trailer hook and you prefer for the wire to sit on the outside, just simply hook your first hook here. Again, I would just suggest, eyeballing where it would sit, but then you just cinch this down here, cut here, and then now you would just place the trailer where you want. Trailer wire is exposed on the outside. I think the last benefit for the NITTA Live Zip is really consistent every time you use it. That consistent fixed position, whether you're going to drag it forward and bridle it from the front, or whether you're going to drift and you want the hook the other way because of the way the fish swallows it, it's going to stay in that direction. Once you bridle it, you hook it on there, at least you can be confident in knowing that that's the position you set it in, that's the position you want it in, and that's the position it'll stay in. Today's information was gathered by various fishermen on all skill levels across the world. This simple, consistent, reliable bridling system will give you a perfect bridle every time. It'll turn any beginner fisherman into an expert in just a few trips. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. Any questions, comments, concerns, be sure to hit us up on our website. And we just like to say a big mahalo from NITTA Fishing Innovations. Aloha guys.